for these two is great. A spot in senior hurling for 2021. Mark Landers and Ciara Murphy are with me. Lads, it's a huge night, an exciting night.
It's a massive night for both clubs. Oisin, as you've already said, getting senior status is massive, and even though both clubs have been senior before, it still is about getting to the next level up. But it's there's a cup, I suppose. At the end of the day, we won't have supporters here to celebrate it in massive numbers, but there will be one team, I suppose, going back to their village tonight in Castlelyons or Blarney. One of them will be going back at a cup. The other will be going back, unfortunately, having been beaten. But I would expect that both sets of supporters may be there to welcome both teams home.
Braggy, how much is it about handling the occasion when you get to a final?
Oh yeah, I mean that's a huge factor, to be honest. I suppose it's a Saturday evening, so fellas, not only have they had kind of all week, but they've had all day really today. And the big thing is, how do you pass the time during the day? How do you keep yourself occupied without drawing too much energy and generating that kind of nervous energy, which is only natural for an occasion like this. As Mark said there, it's a massive game for both clubs. Both of these clubs are more than capable than playing in the senior ranks. So both of them would have fierce aspirations for getting up and being very competitive at the senior level. But unfortunately, only one goes up, and it's making up for a great occasion tonight.
Okay, more from you and Mark in a wee while, but let's hear from both camps ahead of a huge game on a huge weekend, of course, because tomorrow we've got the Senior A final between Father O'Neill's and Charleville. We'll look ahead to that a little bit later on. But right now, let's hear from both camps, Blarney and Castlelyons. The Castlelyons manager is Ciara McGann, but before him, we'll hear from Blarney coach Brian Hurley.
Brian Hurley, coach of Blarney. Brian, you're heading into the county final now this weekend. You've already met your opposition, but for you came out on the wrong side of it. Yeah. Can you turn that around now and work it in your favour?
Hopefully. I don't know, can we work it in our favour or such, but we just have to give a better account of ourselves. We probably ran into a very, very good side. We knew they were good, but they were exceptional on the day, and all their performances have been that way since then. Watched them last week against Courses, they were very, very strong, so I suppose it's just up to us to seek me up the ante. There's nothing really you can do against them the way they play. You just go out 15-15 and hope that we can match up a bit better and stay in the game a bit longer and take our chances if they come,
Okay. You came out of your group and you qualified to meet Ballincollig in the quarter-final. Now, for long stages in that game, you were in trouble, let's put it that way, and you looked like maybe you mightn't get the desired result. But you came late. I think you were 9 points down, were you, with 7 minutes remaining? You might just talk us through that.
Yeah, we were. Yeah, we were probably making inroads from 5 minutes after half time, slowly just trying to get back into the game, and then we got caught with a slightly lucky goal. They got to put us 9 points behind. It looked bad at that point, but the lads just kept going. They have a lot of belief, a lot of heart and fairness, and we just pointed back to a game we had earlier on in the league against Castlelyons, where we were a similar situation, not quite as bad, but we didn't look like getting anything out of the game, and we got a goal very, very late on just to snatch it, and they kept at it, and I think just after they got their goal to go 9, we kind of got one quickly enough, and it just reignited them a small bit. That was important. If that didn't come so quickly, we mightn't be here. We mightn't be looking at a county final this weekend. Ballincollig played very well on the night, but I think in that last 20 minutes the lads really showed a lot of quality, and were just getting some serious scores. They were hard to live with when they got going, but there was 2 or 3 stages even after we got it back to 6 points that we probably could have been gone again. They were extending the lead out to 4. Just a couple of good minutes at the end, and you can't plan for that or legislate for just a bit of quality, a couple of good scores, and it sneaks you over the line.
You obviously made it work in your favour, because you then met Carrigaline in the semi-final, and this was a Carrigaline team that was fancied by many because they had come through their own group stage with big scores and big wins. And I mean, you really, I suppose you took the game to them from the off, and you came out with a huge victory over Carrigaline.
Yeah, played well, and I suppose just maybe the opposite to the Ballincollig game, where we didn't start at all, didn't get going in the first 10 minutes. I think the lads themselves just made sure that didn't happen, made a conscious effort just to be focused from the very first minute, and we got a good start that day. Probably like what happened to us against Ballincollig, we got 1-3 without reply, and probably just didn't give them much chance to get back into the game, and we put up a big score, but the defence were top class. The 6 defenders were really, really strong, you know, and that's the platform where they were under pressure for. If you watch the game, they were, you know, looking back from us, they were actually under pressure an awful lot of the time, and just kept defending Carrigaline very, very well one-on-one, and you know, space opened up late in the game, and we probably pulled away a little bit. Scoreline might have flattered us a bit now, to be fair, but all round was a very good performance and built on a good defence, to be fair, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I just noting the scoreline, I think it was 420 to 112, you know, which does exactly what you say there. You know, very good performance from your defence, obviously, and your forward line clicked again. Tell me, how big an influence is Mark Coleman to this Blarney team?
Yeah, I suppose, look, he's a Cork senior hurler and he's a top class one. All the lads look up to him. He's a great influence around the place. You know, when he talks, fellas listen. He's a quiet fella, but he is, you know, he's a strong character and a good leader on the pitch. And I think, particularly in the Ballincollig game, it wasn't going well for anyone really on the pitch. There was no fella that could say they were going very well, but he was having, you know, he was getting a tough time from his marker, but he kept going, kept just winning ball, went back to basics and kept us in the game and kept the supply of ball going in that we managed to get something in. So he's a very, very strong character. Like I said, a quiet guy, but leads by example, so no, couldn't be happier with him.
And obviously the likes of Shane Barrett and Padraig Power and Declan Hannon, those Cork minors, Cork under 20 players, they're obviously feeding off him as well, because you've a nice blend, haven't you, of youth coming along as well.
Yeah, and the lads, you know, they're good, solid, you know, they're very young, but they have a lot of hurling behind them, you know, like you said, with Cork minors, Cork 20s, Harty Cup teams, they were Christians, they were in a Premier 1 minor final a couple of years ago, so like they have a lot of high level stuff behind them, and like that they're very good influences on the lads, how they prepare, train, the three of them, you know, they really do lead by example for young players, you know, like there's a good blend, there's some experienced lads there too, but the young fellas are, you know, strong characters, what I call them, you know, so yeah, very happy with them as well.
And I take it now that you're in the final, you want to go and win it.
Yeah, look, you were one off chance, I like genuinely think Castlelyons are the strongest team in it. There's always one standout team in this grade, even though it's very even, and they are very strong. Like it's very hard to find a weakness in them, but you've a one-off game, you've a chance, you know, we've good players as well. Like I say, we just try and match up and you know, perform 10% better than we did the last day, and not be as flat, but even if you do that, there's no guarantee you'll be there against a crowd like them. You just have to hope for a bit of luck, really, you know, and that we didn't use it all up against Ballincollig, and we might get something at the end of the game, you know.
Kieran, it's your first year managing your own club, Castlelyons. How has it gone for you?
Yeah, look, it's been, I suppose, given the year that's in it, it's certainly been a very strange year, but I suppose in terms of from the managerial point of view, it's been a really, really enjoyable year, because I suppose, look, given everything that's gone on out and around the place, hurling has been our kind of safety net, I suppose, in terms of keep everything, in terms of a bit of sanity in our lives, and look, from that point of view, it's been really, really enjoyable. So from a first year managerial point of view, I've loved every minute of it.
And you're heading into the county final now this weekend. It's kind of unique, really, that you're meeting a team in Blarney who you've met already and defeated. Is that of any significance to you?
Again, I suppose, look, the Blarney challenge, it's going to be huge. It is, look, it's unique for us, and I think for many teams in the Cork Championship, where you're meeting a team for the second time in the one championship year. I suppose going back to that, the first round of games, obviously we were in a group with Blarney, Inniscarra and Blackrock. We looked at that as very much a competition in its own right, and our target there was to finish in the league table at the top. We did that, so look, we went forward then and we qualified for the semi-final, and we looked again at treating that as a separate competition. But in terms of going back to the Blarney piece, like, look, I follow hurling with a long number of years. I seen their semi-final last year against Father O'Neill's, where they ran them very close. I think the game finished by a point. A lot of people were saying that if it went on for a few more minutes, Blarney might have actually got across the line. So like, I knew if we were to progress at all in the championship this year, we would have to beat Blarney in a knockout stage. And the way it has run out for both of us, that's hopefully going to be the final now. So we're looking forward to it. But take nothing away from Blarney, they're obviously a fantastic outfit. They've some unbelievable forwards, which I hope will progress for Cork and Cork Senior hurling down the tracks. I hope that's the trajectory they're on. Hopefully it won't be this Saturday now or anything like that, but certainly I'll be watching them with a keen eye into the future, because they're fantastic players.
You mentioned yourself you got a bye to the semi-final. Now that also left you with about a 4-week layoff. You beat Cork Rovers in the semi-final, 5 or 6 points I think in the end. Did that work in your favour, getting a bye to the semi-final?
Again, do you know what? The last couple of years we got, as the number of teams in the championship, we would have maybe got a bye to the quarter final, and it didn't work in our favour. But the way I suppose the way we approached it this year, we targeted winning 3 out of 3, and we knew if we did get to the semi-final, then we got there on merit. It wasn't down to a draw or anything like that. We got there because we deserved to be there. In terms of working in our favour, I suppose in hindsight, if you look at the way it worked out, there was 3 teams in our division, won 3 out of 3 in the group stages. Ourselves, Watergrass Hill and Carrigaline. Watergrass Hill in the next championship game, they were dumped out by Cork Rovers. Carrigaline in their next championship game were dumped out by Blarney. And ourselves against Corsies, it took us 15 or 20 minutes to get into that game, but thankfully we stayed in the game and we powered on in that second and third quarter in particular. So look, did it work out? Maybe, look, from the point of view, we're in the final, so I would say it did work out fine for us, you know.
You've also done something this year, I suppose, which people have taken note of. You've made an inter-county defender an ace attacker in Blarney. How did that come about?
Yeah, so again, look, I suppose from the start of the year, we kind of, I suppose, wanted to set out our stall in terms of where we thought we'd position our players best for the overall betterment of the team. And we were looking at various defenders, we were looking at our attackers, midfielders, everything like that. We're fortunate enough, we've a lot of good defenders in Castlelyons. Look, I suppose, like, there's no point in saying otherwise. Everyone knows the calibre of Niall O'Leary and Colin Barry and these guys, given that they're household names with the last couple of years. And you could throw in Colm Spillane into that equation as well. Colm, unfortunately for him, he missed the championship season last season with a cruciate knee ligament injury. So he was coming back this season as a refreshed, re-energised and essentially a new player onto the panel. So we looked around and we thought who would be the best to deploy further out the field from our defenders, and we had a chat with Colm. He was very much open to it, and we said, look, we'll go with Colm, we'll see how it works out. Again, that's maybe the safety net at the group stages, that if it didn't work out, we had a second game and possibly a third game. But look, Colm has lined out in the forwards for us. So far so good, it has worked out very, very well. But there could be a couple of interesting things in the works. It's not to say he might line out there this Saturday night, but we'll see. It's been going well for Colm, but again, that forward division for us, he's got 2 brothers up there as well, so that's 3 out of 6 forwards coming from the one household, so they mind each other very well and they work very well as a group together. So that was part of the dynamic of moving him up front as well.
Okay, and just finally, Kieran, have you a clean bill of health for the final?
Again, for the final, for the semi-final, we were hopeful. There's 1 or 2 niggles and knocks, which you would always have and you'd always expect. We've physios doing rubs and we've a couple of man overdrive down there at the moment, but all going well. We'll have a clean bill of health from the semi-final. One guy who unfortunately didn't make it for us for the final, and he's a significant loss to us, is young Dave Morrison. Dave Morrison was unfortunate in the last minute of the Inniscarra game. He fell, he broke his fall and ended up breaking his wrist. So we were hoping he might be back for a final, but he's not, and he's a big loss to us because he would have scored 3 goals from play in the group stages. Fierce eye for goal, young guy. Many teams out there knew very little about Dave. He was like maybe our secret weapon in attack, and it's just unfortunate for that guy. He's a huge guy for the team. He won't make it back. And just, I suppose, the other guy that we're missing would be Ronan O'Regan. He came on actually in that Blarney game, would you believe, and 2 minutes later didn't he do his cruciate. So other than those 2 guys, look, we've a clean bill of health from the semi-final, but look, a key thing we did all this year was strengthen the panel. We've good strength and depth down in Castlelyons. We've good numbers. There's fellas raring to go, fellas mad to get into the 20 for match day. So in terms of are we in a good place numbers wise and panel wise, we're in a great place.
Well, you heard from Brian Hurley of Blarney there and Kieran McGann of Castlelyons. And Mark Landers, is it fair to say that Kieran, as a player, might have got more game time with Cork if he hadn't have come along when he did? His timing was not what you'd call perfect, considering the competition he had. the guys who were there ahead of him.
Absolutely, and I mean, like, he came up against the likes of John Gardner and Ronan Curran and Sean O'Halpine, like, who, any player was going to find it very hard to get inside them. But look, he was involved in a number of All-Ireland final panels and stuff like that, so he got a taste of what it's like to be in a dressing room, got a taste of what it's like to be, I suppose, in Croke Park on All-Ireland final day, and that's a very, very special thing for players and for fellas involved on the backroom staff, but or in the subs. But I suppose, look, today now, he has taken on the mantle, and this is his first year involved with Castlelyons as a manager, and to get to a county final in your first year is a fantastic honour for Kieran himself.
Well, let's have a look at the teams. We'll start with Blarney and Fraggy. I know that you're going to have a look at Blarney. There's some standout names there, isn't there?
Yeah, there certainly is, and I suppose this is going to be the big challenge for how are they going to quieten, the marquee names that Blarney have. You've Mark Coleman, who's obviously, one of the best hurlers in the country, and that's going to be a massive job for Castlelyons tonight. But also then you look inside to the full forward line, and you have the quality of Padraig Power and Shane Barrett, and that's going to be a key item tonight for Blarney. Is how much quality ball can they get into those two, because if you get quality ball into those two, no matter what defenders on them, they're going to trouble them, and that's going to be a huge thing. And then you're looking at the likes of Joe Jordan, who's been around the block and a massive player for Blarney in the years in defence, and he's a real talisman for this Blarney team, and he'll certainly be one of the driving forces if Blarney are going to be successful tonight.
Okay, let's have a look at Castlelyons, because just like Blarney, Mark, they have a fairly stellar lineup.
Yeah, well, I suppose starting immediately with the goalkeeper Jack Barry, who's been involved with UCC for a good number of years in the Fitzgibbon, and I suppose played with Emmy Kelly in the senior championship already this year. He's an outstanding goalkeeper. He's flanked by his brother Colm, fullback, who's 3 county senior medals won with Emmy Kelly over the last 3 years. So I mean, there's a good combination there straight away, and Colm's battle with Paddy Power, I think, is one of the highlights. I suppose you have the 2 O'Leary twin brothers, then Niall and Jamie O'Leary playing in the back as well, and then a young player there from Colm O'Neill there. His parents are from Killa James and Una O'Connor. I've been impressed with him all year long, Oisin, because the Blarney played previously against Castlelyons aside in Mournabbey this year, and he was excellent, and he's held his form really well against courses. Middle of the field, 2 hard-working players, Keith O'Leary, who's also involved with UCC and played in the semi-final last weekend for UCC, and Owen May. And then up front, I suppose, look, the big thing really is the 3 Spillane brothers.
Will Colm be up front for this game? Because there's been some talk that he'll be in the back line.
Yeah, I saw Kieran McGann had gave an interview during the week where he felt, that the team wasn't picked, and he could turn up anywhere. But
did he honestly expect anyone to believe that?
No, I suppose you try to deflect some bit of pressure off yourself, because I suppose in some respects it was a big decision for the Castlelyons management. Move Colm, he's an inter-county defender, but I think the way they felt about it is the best balance for the team was to leave Colm Barry full back and Niall O'Leary centre back. So I think he had a chat with Colm how he felt about moving up front, and he agreed to go up there. So, but I think the big thing is, Colm, Anthony and Michael Spillane, the 3 Spillane brothers, and Anthony's full forward. His father Mick was captain in 1998.
I wasn't going to bring that up, Mark.
Listen, you can't change history. That's just the facts of it. But I presume Mick is here tonight. The last time we saw him at the semi-final, he was in crutches. But it's a huge honour for any family to have three sons playing tonight in a county final.
Well, despite being on crutches, there's possibly a chance that Mick will be on the bench. He could play himself at some stage. And then it is the Premier Intermediate Hurling Championship Final. Well, as we talked about, Castlelyons won the intermediate title in '98, beating Mark Landers and Killa on that day. For Blarney, they have also been senior before, but they want a taste of it again. Both of these teams want to get up to senior level. This is their second meeting this season. The fact that Castlelyons won handily against Blarney during the group stages, does that have any relevance, Fraggy?
Yeah, I think it does. Myself and Mark were talking about it there earlier. That game was in Mourneabbey, different pitch here now tonight, a lot more space, a lot more opportunity for Blarney to hit their full forward line. But, I think Castlelyons were very dominant that day, and they'll certainly be looking to bring that game plan to the game tonight as well too.
And our referee, by the way, is Kieran O'Regan. Colin McAllister and Cormac Deneen are his lines men. The umpires are Jamie Lane, Damien O'Regan, Gene Buckley and Brendan O'Regan. And the fourth official and standby referee is Mark Marr. And Jack Barry, who has played out the field before, has a look up. And if you follow social media, no doubt you'll have seen a lot of broadcasters talking about the awards they won last night at the Imros. Kieran O'Regan has won a few of those in the past with Radio Kerry, and the late great Wishy Fogarty, but tonight he is the man in the middle, and he, like other referees, is letting things flow this season, and that's a good thing.
It is. It's a big thing that we've seen with all of the games this year. Is the referees are leaving the game flow, and I think there is a calling out for Cork GA and Cork Hurling in particular. We're speaking about tonight, that the game would be left develop and stuff like that, and all the referees are doing that now. I suppose one thing that other people may not be aware of at the moment is that Leo Sexton has picked up Shane Barrett, he's named at 13, but he's playing wing forward. And as expected, Colin Barry and Paddy Power are marking each other, and it seems as though Mark Coleman is drifting back the field, and Cass and Blarney are playing with 5 forwards at the moment. So Niall O'Leary has been left free at the back for Castlelyons.
Leo Sexton played with St Jude's in Dublin for a couple of years. They were threatening to break through and win a title, but they never actually did. And that is the first score of the Premier Intermediate County Final, and it's a good one as well. Spillane knocking that one over, 1 point to no score, just over a minute and a half gone. The battle on in the middle for it here. These battles are always so important, and stealing away with it is Michael Spillane. Spillane's already having an impact here, trying to steal it back is Joe Jordan, Dr. Joe Jordan I should say. David Walsh hits it in, and it's broken down and collected really well by Keith Costello. Costello trying to skin his man, has advantage, recycles back to Mark Coleman, and they will get the free, Blarney. Darren Tobin is already in for Castlelyons, who've had to make a very early change.
Yeah,
and it looks like they'll be able to.
Yeah, it looks as though it's a hand injury that Colm Spillane has gone off for. He's out down the Blackrock end of the field at the moment, and he certainly wouldn't be going off unless he needs some serious attention.
He's a big player for them in every sense, Fraggy.
He's massive, it's just testament to his quality really, because I think he's one of the best defenders in the country, and he's doing a ferocious job up front this year for Castlelyons, and there seems to be a bit of kind of concern in trying to get him back on the pitch. As Mark said, it's a hand injury, and I'm not too sure if he needs a stitch or something, but there seems to be a bit of panic down the sideline about it.
Yeah, and it seems to be in the palm of his hand, which is probably a little bit worse, and so far they'll find it very hard to do anything with that.
Mark Coleman getting that free coming forward now. Declan Hanlon. Inside it goes to Keith Costello. They've got a dazzling young forward line. Blarney picked up on the way by Hanlon. Bit of a crowd in. They are making a big noise. Jack Barry does very well under that. Scoops it out to his brother Colm. And Colm does the necessary. But it's into nowhere from a Castlelyons point of view. Peter Philpott, whose dad was a big bars man, very successful with them, played on the great bars teams of the 80s, falls the way of Niall O'Leary, an inter-county player. He's been chased down by Keith Costello, but Niall O'Leary picks it up really well. Blarney have an extra man back there. That man appears to be Hanlon. They try and play it out, pulling on it there, his own mate, an experienced midfielder, Alan McAvoy, sending it down the park. That's a fantastic catch. Niall O'Leary. Is O'Leary going for it from there, heading towards the Blackrock end? And the keeper, Paul Hallisey, lets it drift wide. A big weekend for Blackrock, who are in the Premier Senior Final tomorrow against Glen Rovers. Of course, we've got the Senior A Final between Father O'Neill's and Charleville live. Chasing after that one was Patrick Crowley, but he was never going to get there.
Yeah, and we've had it was 4 minutes of play and a very, very level game at this moment in time. Blarney are definitely playing with two sweepers at the moment. Joe Jordan and Declan Hanlon are back in the backs. There was a slight breeze blowing into the Blackrock end, which was favouring Castlelyons in the first half. And it looks as though Colm Spillane's night could be over, which is a serious, serious blow for Castlelyons.
Shane Barrett flicked it onto Mark O'Leary. And wide it goes.
Yeah, that's a huge moment there now in the game. You know, Cullum has been so good for Castlelyons this year. He's a massive loss to them at the start of the game to lose his quality. And you know, you can really see Blarney. Obviously, the game in the
group
earlier
stages.
in the group stages earlier in the year, they're obviously have come out and said, lads, that's not going to happen again tonight, and they've been really aggressive on the ball today, and they seem to have learned their lesson from that game, because Declan Hannon just seems to be hanging back around the 45, and he's going to change him with Mark Coleman. So they've obviously done a lot of work in terms of their tactics as well.
Mark Coleman, who can score sidelines, as we saw in the Fitzgibbon Cup earlier in the year, receives it back. It was a nice pass from Barrett, the Cork under 20, and Coleman guides it over.
Yeah, good smart play from the Blarney team there. A short line ball from Mark Coleman to Shane Barrett. Good first touch, and played Mark Coleman into the space, and he's very comfortable off his left hand side, straight over the bar. Great start from Blarney.
They've had to make another change. Keith O'Leary has gone off. Darren Tobin has come in, the milkman as he's called. Trying to sweep it up now is Keith Costello, turning and twisting. That's a nice turn as well, lovely fleet of foot. Barrett going after it, collecting it. He fancies this, into the city end it goes, and it gets there via the posts, or between them.
Yeah, very, very, very good start from Blarney, and Shane Barrett was very, very comfortable on that there. Which is strange is that Shane Barrett now has moved wings, and I would have expected that Leo Sexton would have went with him, but he's not, and he's playing the far side of the field and the north stand side of the pitch at the moment.
Castlelyons have had to make a number of switches already in the game. Darren Tobin is now going off because he was a blood sub. Leon Ducey has gone in, a Cork minor squad member last year, so even their subs have good experience and they've got good pedigree, and that is a mighty score.
Yeah, just that little delay in the game there just gave Castlelyons time to settle, because they were making so many switches out of necessity because of the injury. People were running all over the place and they lost their kind of shape, but that little break gave them an opportunity to organise in the pitch, and you should see maybe Castlelyons a little bit more structure now after that.
Joe Jordan, who's working in Dublin, so it's some commitment for him to play for Blarney. That's another fantastic catch. Mark Coleman. I know that Mark Landers, you were not disappointed with Mark Coleman's display when these two met in the group stages, but you expected a bit more out of him. He certainly is showing for a lot of ball. He certainly is kind of trying to run things out there.
Absolutely, and I felt at the time he was playing wing back actually on the night, and Colm Spillane was centre forward, and I thought that Mark Coleman wasn't really involved in the game. Colm Spillane ended up getting a goal and 7 points from centre forward, and I felt that Mark probably needed him to maybe press in on him or maybe move in on top of him. We see now that he's actually moved into the wing forward position here, so Blarney have got a half forward line of Shane Barrett and Mark Coleman now. I mean that shows an intent in itself that there is that they're going all out for the attack here tonight.
Blarney have some history behind them. All-Ireland champions back in 2009. Paul O'Leary, Joe Jordan and Colin Murphy all involved in that campaign. Here's Alan McAvoy. That's a really good stick pass. Patrick Cowley just about manages to get it under control. Hanlon, another one of those impressive young guns. It just went over the stick of Padraig Power. Pop, as they call him, the man who created one of the commentary moments of the summer so far. Jack Barry leaves it behind, but has more than enough time to get it into the hand. That mistake uncharacteristic from him. Trying to slide onto that one is Leon Ducey. Directs it into the path of his teammate. That's Keith O'Leary, who's back in, having had an injury. Barry Murphy can't get his shot away. He was absolutely smothered by Blarney, who swarmed around him.
Great tackling by the Blarney defence there, and at the moment we're looking on the field. Blarney have 3 forwards inside the 65-yard line, and the rest of the team is behind the ball at this moment. They're really not going to let Castlelyons get in front early.
Power trying to get onto it there. He didn't give up on it, but he was just muscled off it, and Colin Barry fires it away. That's a shot from a very tight angle. If it goes over at some score, I think it was Darren Tobin who hit that one. Oh, and he avoids the 65, does Hallisey. Distinctive with that long hair. Gives it away though. Here's Ducey into the path of Michael Spillane. Michael Spillane can't keep it on target.
Yeah, you can really see Blarney's work rate. They're closing down Castlelyons forwards at every opportunity, and they're looking to work the ball short, just like they're doing here now. Declan Hanlon's playing a good game in the 45, but at the moment they're trying to hit Padraig Power, and in fairness to Colin Barry, he's been outstanding in the few balls that's got in there between the two of them. It's a great battle.
Mark Coleman gets time, gets space, gets a point.
And that's Mark Coleman's third point out of 4 at the moment, which is a great start for Mark, and he's really taking the game to Castlelyons this evening. But it is noticeable that Declan Hanlon is taking up a kind of a second centre-back position. He's playing in front of the D, so I suppose Castlelyons heretofore have been trying to get ball to Anthony Spillane and young James Carney inside in the full forward line, but it's a definite tactic by Blarney this evening to play a sweeper.
Padraig Power was down, but he's back up again. I've got a bit confused. It's actually Patrick Crowley who's popped. Padraig Power is not popped, and the free in has gone to Castlelyons, and the chance to make it a 1-point game.
Yeah, and the other thing I suppose, Oisín, from the group game is that Paul O'Leary, the manager, was not playing that night, and he's a spiritual leader for the Blarney team as well. He's a big physical, abrasive player. He's taking on Castlelyons' main forward tonight in Anthony Spillane, and on that night, I suppose outside in Mournabbey, Anthony Spillane ran right. He probably could have had 4 or 5 goals, except for the brilliance of Paul Hallisey in goals.
It's a 1-point game again. Spillane putting that one over. Michael Spillane, by the way, just to avoid the confusion. There are a few of them out there, although one less because Collins had to go off injured. They go to level it up. If it does go over, that's a mighty point. But it's wide from the stick of Keith O'Leary.
Yeah, that's a couple of balls out that kind of Castlelyons have outside, and you just wonder, would they throw them in front of Anthony and Michael Spillane inside there and just test that Blarney full back line, just give the lads the opportunity inside. But Castlelyons now are definitely coming much more into this game.
Barry Murphy among those in there trying to hoover it up, and Castlelyons steal it away, but again they're hitting it into an area where there's lots of red. There was a little bit of afters after that long ball was sent away. Castlelyons tried to make it stick. It's picked up again by Declan Hanlon. It's a bit of a blind hand pass, but it is collected by Phil Pott, who gives it back to Sean Crowley. Crowley, the joint captain, looking down the line, perhaps at Mark Coleman, who's fouled, and it's a free in.
Yeah, I'd say, and you can hear the Castlelyons supporters over on the far side of the field. They weren't happy with the clearance that Barry Murphy had hit. They were complaining that he was struck late. I don't think there was a whole pile in it. There may have been a clash of hurleys, but I'd say they're probably a little bit disappointed that Leo Sexton and Mark Coleman were jostling for that, and the free has gone to Mark Coleman there. But I think the referee has flashed a yellow card, and I don't know who he has flashed to that.
Well, Coleman was by far and away the closest player to him.
Yeah, it's hard to tell who he just kind of flashed it, and there was nobody. Mark was kind of putting the ball down for free, and there was nobody nobody else within 15 yards of him, so it's hard to see why Mark Coleman would get the yellow card unless he mowed it, but I don't think it was for him, to be honest.
Coleman squeezing that one over. Good score, his 4th of the game. He's second from a free.
There's movement all over the field for puck-out strategies. The Castlelyons forwards are in together on the 45-yard line. They're spreading out, then spreading for a ball to the side.
A little bit of a fumble there from Padraig Power. Tries to get it back under his belt. His teammate gets there. That's Mark O'Leary. And there was a chop, and it's another free. And Castlelyons have to watch their discipline here.
Yeah, it's the one thing you can't do with Mark Coleman around anywhere in the pitch, to be honest, because he's such a clean striker of the ball. But it's as Mark Landers said there earlier, there's fellas moving and running all over the place. It's a good contest. Both sets of forwards are working hard to close down. Blarney at the moment are just probably having a little bit more success in working the ball out and being able to get it to areas where they can deliver it inside. But it's certainly a good start, and this is an important free here now for Blarney, just to keep the momentum going and to go 3 up.
And I would say that Castlelyons will probably want to get to the water break as fast as possible, because I think they're rattled. The fact that Colm Spillane, they're probably their best player in some respects, has gone off the field, and they're slightly at 6-7. There was a needless free given away there.
Almost getting there with Shane Barrett, but he's beaten to it by Colm O'Neill. O'Neill dropping it under pressure from Barrett. Barrett did well to win it back. Another free given away by Castlelyons. David Walsh popping back up like a coil spring, but it will be Joe Jordan who strikes it, or will it? Coleman's going back, he fancies this.
Yeah, I think Mark made a good point. Now Castlelyons just need the water break, because to be fair to them, they were dealt with that blow, in the first 2-3 minutes, and it just took them a while to kind of settle, because Cullum is such a leader for them up front. It'll just give Kieran McGann and John Crowley an opportunity just to say, lads, relax. We need to just keep ourselves in the game and just start playing our type of hurling.
Where is this one going to drop? Oh, off the woodwork. And trying to get under it there was Keith Costello. He couldn't, but Blarney still have it. Padraig Power trying to escape the clutches of the centre-back Niall O'Leary. Power, if he gets it, it's a good score, but he hits it across the face of goal and wide, and we're at the water break, I think. Or are we? No, Kieran's going to let him take the puck out.
Right. Yeah, he's called the water break.
He's called the water break, yeah.
So at the water break in the intermediate county final between Blarney and Castlelyons, it's a really exciting contest. Blarney by 3, Mark, and you can't say they don't deserve it.
No, they're dominant, I suppose, all over, and they've made hay while the sun shines, I suppose. I do definitely think Castlelyons' rhythm is disrupted by the fact that Colm Spillane has gone off, and we probably now know that he probably won't be returning either as well. So that's a big blow for Castlelyons. But then at the same time, look, these things happen in matches, Oisín, and your team has to deal with it. They now know that there's 5 that Blarney are going to play with a sweeper. They have 5, so they really need the Castlelyons backs need to settle down a small, but they've given away a couple of needless frees, and if you're giving a free to Mark Coleman, he's going to be scoring any of those from 45 yards in. Needless frees, I would say.
Kieran, the water break has come at the right time for Castlelyons. They'll have the chance to maybe settle down and just have a quick assessment on how things are going, because they lost Colm Spillane very early, and that was a huge blow. So maybe they just need this time to take a breath.
They do, and you can see Kieran McGann there and Johnny Crowley talking to him. Even as they were coming in, there was a few players going over asking Colm Spillane, what was wrong with him and his hand and stuff. They need to just focus, just kind of reset now, because this is a good opportunity for them just to start again. They know Cullum is gone now probably for the rest of the game, so they need to focus on taking Declan Hannon out of the game. At the moment he's mopping the ball up and he's kind of positioning himself in the 45 working across, so they either need to get their wing forwards more on the ball, or else they have to bypass them and hit their full forward line. I'd say at the moment, if there was 2 balls went into their full forward line, it was a lot, and with the threat that they have inside, get the ball in and just test that Blarney full back line, because we actually haven't seen that Blarney full back line being tested yet, and that's what you're looking for Castlelyons.
Well, no matter where you're watching around the world, we'd love to hear from you via @Examiner Sport on Twitter. Jack Barry slots it out to Colin Barry. Colin Barry with a big ball back there, and again Blarney have just more numbers, but they're looking for a break if they can possibly find one. Anthony Spillane's onto it, he goes down. Referee says play on. It's taken by Philpott. Philpott was looking for options and found one in the shape of Sean Crowley. The 2 captains combining. Ray Murphy. Away it goes from Ray Murphy. Tough as nails is what his manager said about him. Swept on there by Keith Costello. Castlelyons have it back. Colm O'Neill. But beg your pardon, it was Colin Barry. Running onto it is James Carney. But he just couldn't keep it in play, and now Paul O'Leary will have the line ball, which he rolls into the path of his teammate. That's a really big hit on Hanlon, but Hanlon keeps going. He's well able to take that kind of punishment, isn't he?
He felt it. We felt it up here, to be honest. It was right on the shoulder. It was a good hit now.
Like, looking at him, you'd never think it, but he's very young, Hanlon. He's still under 20, of course. Played in a Harty Cup final. Current Cork under 20. Played with Christians and that good team that made that Harty Cup final.
He was a big player for Christians, in their Harty Cup campaigns, and he's somebody that Pat Ryan probably would have been looking at earlier in the year. He's a really good player, very smart as well too, and I'd say Castlelyons were probably told to leave their mark on him, and a good fair shoulder there as he comes out. But that's what they need to do. They need to just stop that supply of ball coming out from that area, and that's something that they're going to have to focus on for up until half time.
Coleman gives this one plenty of legs. It was marginal. It might have gone to Hawkeye had that been active, but it's not, and it's a wide. Again, Castlelyons go long. Spillane has a little chip at it and guides it over. He only needs a second, he only needs one look, doesn't he?
There you go. I mean, that wasn't a perfect ball or into that, but it was into the full forward line where you can cause trouble. It wasn't landing 40 yards from the goal, putting it in and asking questions of Blarney to defend it inside there.
Goes under the stick of Michael Spillane, who'll go for it again. Possibly pushed over there. Referee says play on. James Carney ran onto it, but also ran out of room.
And like, it really is down to Castlelyons at the moment now, that they have to get their 6 defenders working together, creating space, get Niall O'Leary on the ball, because actually Blarney have allowed Niall O'Leary to be the loose man on the other side, and no better man than Niall O'Leary with a ball in his hand to be able to deliver good quality ball into the Castlelyons full forward line.
Blarney, with the numbers they have back there, able to win the ball easily. This is the tough part though. Keith Costello up against 2 or 3 defenders. Costello does well in to help out his Padraig Power. Castlelyons come away with it. He was shoveled into the path of Leo Sexton. Leo Sexton, another one of those players who's been at home an awful lot more this season, and it has really benefited his hurling. Oh, they're in behind it, just wouldn't hop for Spillane. Might get it on the second attempt. No, he won't. Back there is Declan Hanlon, and the referee gives the free in, so something will come of this for Castlelyons.
Exactly what Mark was just saying there. Get Niall O'Leary on the ball. He was free. They walked it to him, delivered it into the full forward line, and that was actually a good opportunity. If he picked it, he was gone, Mark.
If he picked it, and it did actually pop up from, he had the opportunity, but in fairness to the 2 Spillanes, they funneled back, they trapped the full back coming out with the ball, and they've worked the free out of it, so they're going to get a result out of it, and probably goal opportunity gone, but they're going to get a point out of it.
And that was an important start for Castlelyons, because they needed to work their way back into the game, and they've done it well. Whatever the messages the lads have gotten to them at the water break, it certainly looks like they're going a lot more direct into the full forward line, which is probably what we would have been looking at.
Blarney still with that extra man back there. Hallisey breaks into the path of Patrick Crowley. Crowley has a look. Crowley goes for it. Good save from Barry, but it's still there, and he gets it away from Padraig Power.
Great save and a great clearance into the 50. He was on his knees when he saved the ball, and in fairness to Paddy Power, followed up great. But a big moment in the game.
Crowley got in behind, but just couldn't finish it. They might get something here. They do. Good strike, good score.
Yeah, I thought Padraig Power was inside. They maybe could have slipped the ball inside to him. You'll be doing well to kind of beat Jack Barry from outside the 21, but they recycled the ball well, came out and got a good score from it.
Patrick Crowley with that point, a good one as well. Was on a soccer scholarship in America at one stage, Crowley. I think he might have played for Cove Ramblers as well. Here's Ducey inside. Anthony Spillane, good pass. Mick Spillane. He'll get the goal surely. Oh, brilliant from Hallisey. And the defenders all got back on numbers, and they'll get the 65, but they could have had a goal.
No, I think it's a wide, which is even worse, I suppose, for Castlelyons. Wow. And it was a good opportunity. Well defended by the Blarney's back. I think this David Welch may have got back and forced Mick Spillane to hit the ball into the side netting.
God bless your eyesight, Mark. Ball falls into the path of Shane Barrett, who spills it under pressure.
Yeah, this is a great game, to be honest. It's really 7-5, but every fella is absolutely giving it his all. There you are, Shane Barrett winning the great ball there, and Castlelyons working hard to close him down, and they're flicking the ball away, which is exactly what you'd be looking to do against a class player like Barrett.
Mark Coleman gives that one plenty of length. Breaks into the path of Padraig Power. Padraig Power looking to make an angle, and does. He was fortunate that the Castlelyons defender slipped, but he still had to put that one over, and he did.
Yeah, his first point from playing, and I suppose one of the things I'd have to say is that I think Colin Barry at the moment at full back has been imperious for Castlelyons, but in fairness to Paddy Power, he has got a great score there now.
That's a fantastic catch. Heroic stuff. Out to Coleman it goes. Really good defending from Jamie O'Leary, or was it? No, there was a little pull.
He's a bit unlucky now, I'd have to say, in fairness. He probably had his hand around him slightly, but I think the rub of the green is going against Castlelyons, is going for Blarney on a number of occasions, and we mentioned earlier on about the frees. They don't need to give away needless frees in the defence. They have an extra man there. They need to settle down in the Castlelyons defence.
Yeah, I felt Keith Costello was just trying to use his body there and spin the Castlelyons defender around, and the Castlelyons defender, I thought it was good defending, he just got the hurley in and flicked it away, but Blarney have the free here now, and it's another opportunity for Mark Coleman, and he'll slot them over all day.
Going well for Coleman, 4 from frees for him. He's got a couple from play as well.
Yeah, and all of a sudden it's 10 points to 5, and it's a good lead against whatever slight breeze is there. It is helping Castlelyons in the first half.
Against the unbeaten Castlelyons, Blarney are trying to get some revenge for the group stage loss, but more importantly of all, they're trying to get back up to senior hurling Patrick Crowley. Joe Jordan. The numbers are back. I think that's Tom Carroll who collects it. Mark Coleman hunting as you would expect. Colin Barry kept a cool head. Away, well, an attempted clearance from Jamie.
It's great work from Blarney, but then you would be looking for Castlelyons to try and find Niall O'Leary there. He was all on his own, kind of in the 45, and he probably just needs to demand the ball and just say, look lads, play the ball out through me, because if they're going to set up their attack, they have to work the ball out and find the spare man. If you have a spare man back there, use and work the ball into an area where you can deliver it inside, and we've seen when they have got the ball into their full forward line, they have caused problems in there, but they just haven't got it in there enough.
At the moment, Oisín Blarney probably are definitely, after taking over in the second quarter here now, they're dominant all over the field, and they're getting the rub of the green as well.
Trying to get it away there with Shane Barrett, he couldn't, and that will go out for a line ball to Blarney.
But again, it was a ball that was struck on the ground. He actually had time to go down and pick it up. The hard work was done, and I suppose, for the fear of repeating myself, the Castlelyons backs just need to settle down. Like, just 5 points is nothing in a game of hurling, and supply a ball into the full forward line for Anthony Spillane and James Kearney and Michael Spillane. They are getting a very, very limited supply, and it's because the backs, I think the Castlelyons backs, just haven't dominated, and the two lads in the middle of the field aren't that involved either.
Castlelyons overcame Courcey Rovers in the semi-final. Wasn't all bad for Courcey Rovers this season though. Their senior Camogie team won the county title. That final was refereed by Cathal McAllister, who's also doing the Premier Senior Hurling final. I'm not sure if that's ever happened before in any county, that the same ref does both the Camogie and hurling.
No, I haven't
Premier
seen it
finals
before, but he probably is our standout referee in the county at the moment.
And he was good last week in that final. Not as good as Courcey Rovers, to be fair, but decent enough. Now Castlelyons try and run it out. Niall O'Leary, Colin Barry breaks kindly for Crowley. Good stick pass. He has a look up and thought about shooting, but dummied instead. Mark Coleman. Good pass from Coleman back to Shane Barrett. Barrett cleverly wins the free.
Yeah, again there, Castlelyons working very hard, chasing Mark Coleman back, putting him under pressure, force him to offload, and Shane Barrett gets the ball, and you kind of say, Mark, it's a kind of a cheap free, really, isn't it?
I'm at pains to say it again. It's another free for Blarney, and I make it that's about 6 frees now, 6 points that Mark Coleman will probably have from place balls, and again it was a loose leg, and there was no need for it whatsoever. But look, the reality is that the Castlelyons probably haven't figured out up front yet how to play against the sweeper. Declan Hanlon is taking up a position right at the edge of the D, and some of the high balls that are going in are coming out very, very easy out of the Castlelyons forward line as well. 4
points in a row now for Blarney. Can they stop the rock, Castlelyons? Here's Leo Sexton. They almost got in for a goal a couple of minutes ago, Castlelyons, but haven't really seen a sight of it since. Leon Ducey. Spillane is in there trying to get there, but that is a fantastic interception. Hand pass out to Ray Murphy. Ray Murphy scoops it onto Shane Barrett. Will Barrett go for it from here? Into the Cork night sky it will go, but where will it drop? Wide.
Yeah, he had plenty of length on it, but just the accuracy was a bit off. But you can't afford to leave a player like Shane Barrett loose. And we know the Castlelyons have a loose man back there. They're defence needs to get up on Shane Barrett, and even watch it now, he's on his own at the moment.
Philpott finds Barrett. Barrett has a turn of pace, but he went the wrong direction there. I think he just stepped out over the line with the ball, and it is a line ball to Castlelyons.
And he showed a clean pair of heels to Leo Sexton there as well. So like Barrett is, and like I suppose the group stage would have to say like that as the championships have worn on this year, Barrett and Paddy Power and Mark Coleman have been playing with UCC as well, and they've been playing week in and week out at a high standard, and they're actually showing the signs of playing more quality games on a regular basis, that their hurling is getting better all the time.
Colm O'Neill. Paul O'Leary, the player manager, was after that, but James Carney beats him to it. Carney keeping that ball under his spell. Hallisey had more than the measure of that one. Crowley. Ball spills with Paddy Power looking for it. Niall O'Leary. It's another good strong run, a surging run. It was a run though that went down a bit of a blind alley. Now he's trying to pick it up. There was no one presenting themselves to him there. Like he didn't look up, but no one was screaming.
You're right. He ran through the centre, and he was actually looking. You could kind of see him. He was looking for someone to lay it off to, and he actually had a few yards on Mark Coleman, and he possibly could have just been given a shout of time or strike or something. But what he really needed was someone to come at an angle and take the ball off him. And here you have Mark Coleman taking a free, and his the referees after bringing the ball up for a second time against Castlelyons
for dissent again
for mouting, and you really don't want to be giving Mark Coleman any advantage or making any free easier for him.
No, like he's moved it from out inside his own 65 now just to outside to 65 again, like 15 or 20 yards into this slight breeze is a big help, but a great chase by Mark Coleman to dispossess Niall O'Leary, and there's a bit of afters as well, which is great to see fellas really up for it and fighting hard for their community.
Well, one man who's fighting very hard is Coleman, and he pops over another one. 10 minutes since Castlelyons last scored. They need a big one before the break. Running into a bit of trouble there was Tom Carroll. Leo Sexton. There's lots of shouts at Leo. Where's he going to put it? Down the wing. Anthony Spillane wanted it, but it's Alan Fenton who takes the responsibility and gets a much needed score for his team.
That's a second point from play from Fenton, to be fair. Great score, and off his left hand side, probably on the wrong side of the field for a left handed hurler like that, but a good quality strike. Great ball down the field by Leo Sexton as well.
Fantastic work. Wonderful score. Unbelievable wrists is what I kept hearing about Alan Fenton during the week. He showed it there. Good tackle from Shane Barrett. His wrists aren't bad either. Try to find Patrick Crowley. Blarney at it again, running through. Paddy Power. 3 around him, but he made light of that. Power is still going. That's a fantastic run by Power, and he ends up winning a free. We're speechless.
We're going to repeat ourselves. I sort of know. You'd love to probably go down and say to Castlelyons defence, would you just stop fouling the Blarney players and stand up the men? No, you'd have to give Blarney great credit because they're actually taking the fight immediately to Castlelyons, and they're drawing the fouls as well, which is fantastic play on the Blarney side.
Yeah, in fairness to Patrick Power there, it looked like he was after running down a kind of a blind alley 2 or 3 times, but he just kind of kept going, kept the ball in front of him. He threw it up and brought it back down, brought it back onto the hurley a couple of times, and just kept going forward. And that, I suppose, it gave the opportunity to Castlelyons to foul him, and that's what happened. And here you have Mark Coleman now stepping up to make it a 6-point game. And if you're Castlelyons, you're kind of saying, try and get a point or 2 before half time and reduce down that deficit.
Yeah, and I make it like that Blarney have 12 points, and I think Mark Coleman has got 7 from frees, which tells the story in its own right.
Castlelyons, who've struggled to get points on the board in this half, lose out again to Shane Barrett. That's a really good take and run. This time it doesn't end with the score though. Owen May. Again, there's just too many red jerseys back there. But in fairness to James Carney, who's a youngster, he does well. Well, he did well initially, then he gave it away to Ray Murphy. Ray Murphy, who was the captain of Blarney last year. It's kicked forward there. Hallisey is going to mind that. He's going to be pressurised though. Did well under pressure. Had a couple of players queuing for it. Joe Jordan strikes it long. Half time. 12 plays 6. Blarney leading, and deservedly so, Fraggy.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it. They have been the better team. You know, I suppose Castlelyons were rocked with that injury with Colm Spillane at the start, and it took them a while to kind of reorganise, understandably so. But you know, there's been a couple of decisions there now. I see the Castlelyons lads going in, having a chat with the referee, just maybe querying one or two of them. But Blarney have used the ball well. Castlelyons have been working fierce hard. But they just haven't used the ball as well as Blarney have. And you know, you'd have to give fierce credit to Declan Hanlon there at the moment, who's playing that role. He's cutting any long clearances out, and he's looking to set up the attack from back there, and Mark Coleman's going to punish you all the time with any free that's kind of inside the 65. He has that accuracy, and Mark, I think Blarney are deserving of
deserving leaders at this moment in time, and full quality for or full value for the 12 points, the 6 lead that they have at the moment. But I suppose you'd have to say that Castlelyons are probably at fault, I would say, for the amount of frees that they're giving away, particularly at the back. And like, they have a numerical advantage at the back, which means that they have one extra defender back there. So the last thing they should be doing is rushing in to be fouling the players. And you know, I suppose I could accept that after 10 minutes, you know, that players are nervous and stuff like that. It's a county final, it is a big occasion for them. But like, after 20-25 minutes to be still conceding the same frees, Oisin, it's just it's not good from their point of view. And I suppose, you know, Colin Barry is the one player at the moment who's outstanding, and he is probably keeping Paddy Power quiet. But it's actually the other forwards that are actually creating the frees and drawing the frees. Like, Castlelyons' defence just need to start to settle down. But there's a limited supply of ball going into the Castlelyons full forward line as well.
Well, Tom Carroll is actually a teacher in Christians, and he's up against some of his former pupils at the moment. They're giving him a bit of a lesson. What will happen in the second half? Well, we'll talk about it, and we'll find out obviously over the course of the next wee while. You are watching the Irish Examiner's coverage of the Co-op Superstores Premier Intermediate Hurling Championship final. Blarney leading by 12 points to 6 at the moment against Castlelyons. The second half, and possibly more to come. Remember, this has to end on the night, extra time and penalties if needed. We'll be back shortly. Stay with us. A wonderful game from him so far.
Fantastic this evening, and you know, no more than Declan Hannon, I suppose, that's who's playing as a sweeper. But I suppose you'd have to question, why is he being left as a sweeper? I mean, Blarney want him loose, so Castlelyons have got to be thinking, look, how do we actually stop that man from having an influence? And I think the likes of Barry Murphy, who's a teak tough forward at the moment, he possibly could be deployed in to mark Declan Hannon and leave somebody else free, because we all know when a team plays a sweeper, they actually want their best hurler on the ball, the best man. So in some situations you have to mark the sweeper, and I think that is something that Castlelyons will have to consider.
Well, the story of the first half was that Spillane opened it with a free after a minute and a half. Castlelyons have not been ahead since. It was 6-3 at the water break to Blarney. After the water break, Castlelyons had a promising start with a point and a goal chance, which resulted in a free converted by Spillane. They made it a 1-point game with 21 minutes on the clock, but at half time, as we say, it is a 6-point game. Mark Landers, Fraggy, is talking about maybe putting Hanlon putting a man on him or pushing up on him or trying to stop him. Is that what Castlelyons need to do, or do they just need to up their work rate or improve their own play? What way does it work?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I think they're working hard. Castlelyons, I just think they're making a few kind of wrong decisions. You could see it there at times when they actually once they worked the ball to Niall O'Leary, who was free, they were able to deliver good ball in. But what they're doing at the moment is the area of the pitch that they're probably delivering the ball from is too far back. That's bringing the sweeper into play. So you have a couple of choices. As Mark said there, you can just put someone on him and puck the ball down on top and engage him, and that way then your sweeper is involved in the crowd and he's not in kind of free space to go dictate and sweep across. Or else you just play the ball down the channels and work the ball into the middle area where you're bypassing him. At the moment, Castlelyons probably aren't doing either, really, Mark. And they're landing a lot of ball.
I actually think Castlelyons are shell shocked, is my own view, and I think the last of Colm Spillane has really hit them hard, because I suppose he's a quality player. He was going to be taking the fight to Blarney at centre forward. And look, players will have it worked out in their own head. They'll be looking at the three main Blarney players and Padraig Power, Shane Barrett and Mark Coleman and say, look, okay, we'll go man to man and those three lads and we'll try and limit there. But one of those fellas could have been possibly Colm Spillane, and he's a huge loss to Castlelyons.
Well, it is half time, and as we say, it's 12 points to 6-2 Blarney. Don't forget, tomorrow the Senior A final between Father O'Neill's and Charleville is live at 12:30. We've also got the football semi-final. Jonathan Healy, my former News Talk colleague, has texted me to ask if I'm actually going to eat the banana. I didn't realise it was on camera. That's how relaxed I am around you guys. I didn't even realise you were on camera. I thought the ad break was longer at half time, so I thought I'd get the banana in, but I won't. Mark, what about Blarney? They just need to keep doing what they're doing.
Absolutely, don't they? They're in the driving seat now, Oisín. They're a half an hour away from getting back up as senior, but we've seen in all the quality games that we've watched this year that a 6-point lead is nothing in hurling. We've seen Aaron Zone on a good number of occasions were 8 or 9 points down and came back to win games this year. So the game is, it is. I suppose Blarney are, full value for their lead and are in the driving seat. But like this Castlelyons team and any Castlelyons team that we've ever played against down through the years are not going to give up. There is opportunities, I believe, inside in the full forward line. The likes of James Carney and Anthony Spillane, I think with limited supply of ball, they look threatening. Like Castlelyons have actually got 2 of the goal opportunities that fell to them. First one fell to Mick Spillane, probably just his touch wasn't right. They funded around and got a point. The second one was walked across James Carney to Anthony Spillane, Anthony to Michael Spillane, and hit the side netting. So they actually have got a couple of opportunities, but it's actually the fact that they've got a limited supply of ball. We're really not seeing the best. And the other thing I would say is that the Castlelyons have an average of 220 from their 4 games this year. They're 6 points on the board. That forward line have yet to click, but that's down to the Blarney mentors playing the sweeper.
And Blarney scored 5 points in a row at one stage, and that really, I suppose, is what has them in the driving seat. What needs to happen in the opening stages for both teams in the second half?
Well, I think for Castlelyons, they just need to feed their full forward line a little bit more. They're actually playing into a kind of a stiff enough breeze there now, and that'll probably generate more space in their, because what will happen is the Blarney half-backs will be kind of pushed up with a lot of the ball landing around the 65 and midfield area, and that might give them the opportunity to hit their inside line, because as Mark said, once they got the ball in there, they're generating chances. They just haven't seen. Blarney just need to keep staying smart. They're playing a nice kind of brand of hurling, and I suppose with that wind, if you can get Mark Coleman on the ball in around centre field, he'll put the ball over all day, and Castlelyons will need to push up on him. They can't leave him free in around the centre because he will do damage. And if Blarney can keep getting Declan Hanlon on the ball, Mark Coleman, and getting Shane Barrett and Padraig Power a little bit more involved, they'll be a hard team to beat.
Well, this is a great venue, and it's hosting a great game at the moment. Blarney taking on Castlelyons in the Co-op Superstores Cork Intermediate Hurling Championship final. It says on the Castlelyons website that they're small of stature but big of heart. They need to show that heart in the second half. Spillane tried to put his teammate through, but he has got a free in.
He's got a free in, but it was a legitimate goal opportunity. The hand
Yes.
pass just went slightly in front of Anthony Spillane from Mick. It was a great opportunity, but the referee, Kieran Regan, has called it back and rightly has called it back for a free.
And I've no doubt that Kieran McGann and John Crowley are after giving the message to Castlelyons, hit the full forward line as much as you can, because there you had just a little short 30-yard pass inside into the full forward line, and again another goal opportunity. That's going to be key for Castlelyons now. If they can win that ball in around the centre of the pitch and play that ball in front, they will get chances, but it's about taking them, and so far they haven't taken a couple of chances which could be costly.
Well, there's a long time to go, so a lot of players could put their hand up between now and then. But gentlemen, we will have a player of the match tonight. We'll name that with a couple of minutes to go, so start sending your thoughts that way and thinking about that. It'll be the same tomorrow for Father O'Neill's against Charleville. That, of course, live via the Irish Examiner. We've got football tomorrow as well. Hallisey sending it long. Castlelyons getting the opening score of the second half. They got the opening score of the first half as well. Here comes Crowley. Inside it goes. Oh, what a finish that is. Tucked away beautifully. Great stuff from Paddy Power. Set up by Crowley. And Blarney respond immediately to the Castlelyons point.
Just the break that they wanted, to be honest with it. The ball came from a long Paul Hallisey puck out. It was broken inside to the wing forward. And the difference between the two teams is the hand pass that he gave went to Paddy Power and he finished. On the other side of the field, it didn't go to the man.
Well, Power, as we know, can be kind of goal hungry. He was goal hungry there and he was well fed. Really, really good finish. Now, what can Castlelyons do? It's Blarney who get on top again. Hanlon. Good take. Shane Barrett. Barrett shortens the grip. Doesn't climb over Jack Barry. Joe Jordan is trying to get under this one. Breaks it into the path of Patrick Crowley. Down the line it goes. Shane Barrett, who's popping up everywhere, left and right. Has the advantage, takes the shot knowing that the free is coming even if it doesn't go over. And they'll get the free because that went wide.
Yeah, I think Jamie O'Leary had probably wrapped his hands around Shane Barrett. He looked to take him on, and the referee had clearly signalled that he was allowing the advantage and the shot to be taken, and it's going to be brought back for another free from Mark Coleman.
Yeah, Shane Barrett has really started well in the second half now for Blarney, and Castlelyons, after conceding that goal, they just need to settle things down. They are playing into a stiff wind. If Mark Coleman puts this over, which is a tough free on the sideline, but with his ability, you'd nearly expect him to get it purely based on his quality. If Blarney can keep the scoreboard ticking over, it's going to be hard for Castlelyons to get back into this without getting a couple of goals.
Coleman. Not on this occasion, but it was from a tight angle. Blarney not allowing Castlelyons to get their strikes away cleanly, and then even when they did get a bit of time and a bit of space, Keith O'Leary couldn't find the target.
Well, unless you're very, very certain of knocking the ball over the bar, you've somebody like Anthony Spillane inside the edge of the square, you need to knock it into him. Blarney find themselves, or Castlelyons find themselves 8 points down at the moment, and every ball is vital now. You can't be hitting wide balls like that and giving the keeper a chance to knock it 90 or 100 yards down the field. That stuff just won't win you a county final.
They know what it is to lose a county final. In 2013 they lost to Youghal. They were heartbroken. They don't want to go through that pain again.
Losing county finals is a hard place to be, Oisín. I last one against Castlelyons in 98, last two with McKilly. They're not a nice place, but there's still 25 minutes to go in this game. Anything can happen. We've seen it in all the games this year.
Well, Castlelyons looking to weaken Imokili if they can next year. Of course, if they go senior, Imokili won't have access to the Castlelyons players. They already have lost Father O'Neill's. Their 3 in a row run ended in Cork. We'll have champions from the city this year, Glen Rovers or Blackrock. They meet tomorrow. Shane Barrett. That's a good block down. Blarney winning the break again. It's ferocious out there. Pulled on by Keith O'Leary, but only as far as a red jersey. A little bit too much on that one. Power never had a chance of really getting under it.
That's the one thing Blarney didn't do in the first half. They weren't wasting long ball like that. They were trying to hit, work it through the lines or hit their full forward line. And I suppose they have that advantage at the moment. They just need to keep doing what they're doing.
Colin Barry, Tom Carroll. Carroll shows a burst of pace. Fenton has already got 2 points. Won't get a third for the moment.
No, and again, good defensive play for Blarney to force Fenton out to the sideline. But again, it's just another wide ball and a puck out for Paul Hallisey. And Declan Hannon has positioned himself now back on the 21-yard line. So there's actually 4 defenders against 3 forwards. And Castlelyons are going to find it fierce hard to break through that defence. And I think Blarney have more or less made up their mind now that they're just going to keep the scoreboard ticking over and not allow Castlelyons to get a goal, in my view.
Coleman's in the mood, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. That's actually 2 puck outs now that he's won in a row. And I think Castlelyons just need to designate a man marker for him and just put someone on and say he's your man for the rest of the night. Don't leave him free, because he has too much quality, and Blarney are looking to get him on the ball at every opportunity, which you'd expect. But pushing someone up in Mark Coleman might be the thing to do at the moment.
Fenton comes in for Castlelyons. He would have been somewhere else on the planet only for COVID. He was supposed to go travelling and didn't. Decided to stay around. Very experienced player by and large, a wing forward, actually a cousin of Alan Fenton.
Yeah, we'd have to give great credit to the Blarney mentors at the moment. They're in a good, very, very good, strong position now at the moment. But what they've done from the group stages to now is that they've actually deployed Mark Coleman as a forward, along with Shane Barrett and Paddy Power, and they've decided that they're going to go all offensive with the 3 best players that they have, and then pack it at the back. And that is certainly working for them this evening.
Jack Barry had the better of that one. Slots it out to Dave Kenny. Jack Barry, who's actually competing with his cousin for the goalkeeping spot, Dave Kenny. Kenny, also kind of a de facto goalkeeping coach. He's done a lot of courses and works incredibly hard with Jack Barry and the other goalkeepers of the club. Castlelyons win it back. They need to get a score. They've only got 1 so far in the first half, and that came in the first minute, but their wide tally is beginning to build up a bit.
And when those opportunities go wide, they suck the life out of a team as well, because their defence are slightly overworked, and just saying, "Let's come on, we need to get a score up the other side of the field." And when a ball like that goes wide, it does hurt your overall morale.
A third wide of the second half for Castlelyons is followed by a long-range score for Blarney, and that's kind of the story of the game so far.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's easy for me to say put something on Mark Coleman, but I mean that's just Mark Coleman's class there. I mean, shows for a puck out, controls it, brings it 5 yards and swings it over off the back foot from halfway. That's just the class he has. And here you have Blarney after turning over Castlelyons again. Shane Barrett to Padraig Power.
They're cheering. They knew before we did. White flag is raised, and Power makes it 1-2 for him for tonight.
Yeah, and Castlelyons took a short back puck out to Colin Barry. Colin let it off to Leo Sexton, who mishandled it and has been intercepted from the Blarney players, and they're trying it again now here, but it's great play and a fumble again back in the Castlelyons defence.
It's just not happening for Castlelyons. They win a free there. Fraggy is how can we explain that, or is it just one of those things that happens in sport that sometimes you're in a big game and it just does not happen?
Yeah, Blarney just have the momentum at the moment, and I suppose with that lead and the breeze that they have, as Mark said earlier, they just need to keep the scoreboard ticking over. And sometimes when things are going against you, and I suppose maybe a couple of decisions kind of they felt was against them as well too in the first half, it's just that little bit of kind of doubt maybe sets in or something. But there is still a long time left in this game, but Castlelyons really need to get the scoreboard ticking over here. Yeah. I mean, they've 7 points after 40 minutes. They really need a couple of scores, Mark.
And they do, and I still believe that they're probably still shell-shocked that Colm Spillane, that they've lost them so early in the game, which is no, I suppose really, really good teams can work themselves back into the game, and to do without that. But Blarney have been very, very economical with the ball, and they're playing the ball through the lines as well, and the sweeper has worked for them to this point.
Joe Jordan, and he's giving it the full Milan over there, having won the free.
Yeah, you can. The ball is just, the ball is really breaking for Blarney at the moment. They're looking to take the ball forward there. Castlelyons coming for a tackle, a small bit high, and it's another opportunity for Mark here. Castlelyons, they're trying to work the ball short. They're trying to work it long from puck outs, and look, Blarney are just playing with, I suppose, unbelievable confidence at the moment that they're after generating from the right from the first few minutes, really, to be honest. And I suppose, Mark, you just kind of said it there in terms of the loss of Colm Spillane. If you were looking for someone to stand on Declan Hanlon and puck the ball down top of him, like Colm would do an unbelievable job there for you, and he is a huge,
he's a massive loss for
Castlelyons.
He's massive.
Just evades the Castlelyons forward, now working for it is Crowley again, but they've given away the free. There was a very obvious chop there. You could probably hear the clash of the ash.
But just going back to the last passage of play, that Joe Jordan was fouled. Joe Jordan has been, I suppose, in this Blarney team for God, as long as I know, and playing against Blarney, Joe has been playing. And I was involved with UCC a good number of years ago.
He was around in that kind of 08-09 region as well,
yeah,
when they last had success.
Quality guy, a fantastic fella. Remember meeting him for a cup of coffee a couple of years ago. A lovely bloke, but it's fantastic to see him still hurling, and he's hurling out of his skin tonight for Blarney at half-back, and he's showing for the ball. Now we've a great view here. He's looking for the puck out. He's really into it tonight.
Well, no better man for advice on how to look after yourself. I think he's involved with the sports injury clinic in Santry. Trying to get there as Tom Carroll, he does. His team have just got a point, but they need to start really putting runs of scores together like Blarney have in this game. But the dogged defending of Blarney is making it really difficult for Castlelyons. James Carney, the youngster who was frustrated, I think, last year because he had to serve a suspension and didn't get to play a whole pile, and Castlelyons didn't have a particularly great year. Worked hard to get that one, a clash ball and a free in for Castlelyons, and a chance to get another score and get two in a row.
Yeah, like Castlelyons, need to keep themselves in the game, keep the scoreboard ticking over. 3 or 4 minutes here now before the water break. If they could get another 2-3 scores and just put a small bit of doubt into Blarney's mind before the water break, because they're really going to have to try and just keep the scoreboard ticking over. And if they get those goal opportunities again, they'll have to take them this time. But this is a big free here now for Castlelyons, because they're starting to get a small bit more of a foothold in the game, so it's a big one here.
Just about.
Just squeezing the right hand side of the post, yeah. And as Frankie said, it was a big free for Castlelyons. You just need to stop conceding at the other side, and you never know. If they got one ball, one opportunity for a goal here, this game could turn slightly in their favour.
Ball spills out over the line. It will be a Blarney ball.
They're getting every break of the ball on the
Blarney
are getting every break. Even a clearance came from the Blarney defender, and it looked like the trajectory kept going forward, but it has been awarded to Blarney. And look, I think it's probably the right call, but it's just those breaks aren't going for Castlelyons this evening.
Yeah, and just some nights that happens. No matter what you do and how hard you work, because I do think Castlelyons are working really hard, but it's just not falling the side that they're running to, and a lot of that is down to the Blarney lads and the quality of their play.
Castlelyons win it back. They're beginning to win a bit more ball now. Can they do anything with it? Here's Sexton. Very cleverly taken. Can he finish though? Oh yes, he can. Anthony Spillane, who wants to play his way back into that kind of reckoning for Cork. Well, he's got a good chance if he keeps doing things like that. Wonderful score.
Yeah, very good score, and as Kieran had mentioned earlier on, get the ball to Niall O'Leary, and Niall hit a quality ball into Anthony Spillane, and he tapped the ball over the bar. Quality score.
Well, he's making sure that St. Coleman's keep producing the hurlers he's teaching there at the moment. He's known for working incredibly hard in the gym and trying to get himself right, and well, that was a good score. Joe Jordan intercepts it for Blarney. Castlelyons have got the last 3 in a row, but Blarney look to stem the flow a little bit, and they do with a very good point. Sniped over there from Mark O'Leary.
That's a great score there. They played 2 kind of short passes, just kind of 5-10 yards, but they all went to hand and they took the score. And the
An
game
instant
is
response from Owen May. Or was it a big Niall O'Leary? Niall O'Leary, Niall O'Leary.
It looks as though Castlelyons are now going to go man on man and play. Certainly in the last passage of play, they're going to play with 5 defenders and 7 forwards, is what it seems to be, and probably the correct thing to do, I think, at this stage, because your team is 7 or 8 points down, and they really need to get a goal. I think they're not going to they won't get back and win this match unless they get a number of goals.
How important though is it that they've got a bit of confidence from the last couple of minutes, Castlelyons, and it's not, I won't say there for them, but it's a possibility. They're beginning to get in behind.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they've got some great scores there in the last few minutes. It's actually the best that they've played tonight. And if they can keep that scoreboard ticking over, bear in mind, there's a lot at stake here in terms of getting up to senior. And if you can get it back to 4 or 5 points, and if Castlelyons get the ball up front, Blarney will foul. It's just, it's just what kind of happens. But they have to keep the scoreboard ticking over. And when you get that goal opportunity, you have to take it then, Oisín. But the important thing is that you don't panic early. Keep the scoreboard. Try and get it back to kind of even 3 or 4 points if you can. And then you see what doubt will come into Blarney.
And at the back end for Castlelyons, they don't need to concede easy scores from frees. Their defenders just have to be as smart as possible. Get the hurley in, knock the ball away, don't concede frees, and get that ball into the Castlelyons full forward line. But you'd have to still say, with 15 minutes to go, Blarney have one hand on the cup. They have 3 massive players up front in Shane Barrett, Paddy Power and Mark Coleman, and the extra man in defence is working a treat for them this evening.
We saw it last week, didn't we, with Glen Rovers? Good teams come good in the final quarter, and when they have to, and that is a fantastic catch. Again, they're outnumbered up there. But that looked like a bit of a loose stick for me. Anthony Spillane, the victim of it. Kieran O'Regan says play on. Hanlon clears. Sweeping it up, Colin Barry. Back it goes to Jack Barry. Jack Barry has a bit of space to wander here. Mark O'Leary goes to close him down. It's a pacey ball. Good dispossession by Joe Jordan. But Castlelyons get the possession again. That's a lovely turn. It's going to drop. Spillane is trying to get there, but too much on it.
Yeah, you can see Castlelyons now. They're definitely getting a small bit of a foothold. But the one thing they're doing, they're taking the sweeper out of the game. Declan Hanlon at the moment is kind of positioning himself between the 21 and the edge of the D, and he's not really having that much of an impact in the game. Mainly because Castlelyons are playing them out of the game with the ball that they're playing into their forwards down the wings.
And Niall O'Leary has actually gone to centre forward now. Jamie O'Leary is playing as a sweeper back, and there are 2 Blarney forwards inside their own 65-yard line, 3 inside 100 yards. So, Blarney are going to pack the defence here, and they're not going to give away any goal here. Oisín, is what the plan is.
That's always a dangerous one, a dropping one. Spillane couldn't direct it towards goal. It's swept up by Crowley. Crowley under pressure. 65. Castlelyons very, very noticeably are on top now.
They are. They're playing really well. Mark said it there. I mean, Blarney have everyone bar 3 players back inside their own half. You can go too defensive as well too. I mean, there's still 12 minutes of normal time and probably another 3 or 4 minutes of injury time that's left in this game, and they need to keep playing and keep going through. Mark Coleman, Declan Hanlon, Joe Jordan. Get the ball to Barrett, who we haven't seen in a while now, Mark, and he was dominant at the start of the second half.
No, but it's testament to Castlelyons that they're staying in the game. They're fighting on their back at this moment in time, having lost Colm Spillane so early in the game. There are a number of Blarney players that are down now, getting treated, but Kieran O'Regan is having nothing of it. He's leaving the ball play. Paul Allison goals will be tricky here because the Castlelyons supporters are roaring at the referee to get him to puck out the ball.
They're loud in East Cork, as you well know, Mark. We can hear you over the border sometimes in Ardmore. Ball slotted out of defence from Colm O'Neill, and it just bounces out, and it'll be a line ball for Blarney.
Yes, still Blarney are still in the driving seat, and they have whatever breeze is behind, and the breeze is fresh blowing into the Blackrock end, and it's just, I suppose, there's sometimes you'll be trying to wind down the clock, but it's probably still a bit early. You know, there was 10 minutes left on the clock and 3 or 4 minutes of injury time more than likely. So they still need to head for home. I would expect. You know, still keep playing with confidence and I suppose don't rush away from their game plan that they're having at the moment, which has been very, very successful for them.
Mark O'Leary from Blarney was just holding up Castlelyons. They're standing over the ball. They couldn't take the line ball quickly. Mark O'Leary using his managerial acumen there. He's the manager of the Blarney football team.
Now, we saw Blarney playing in the quarter-final against Ballincollig this year, and they were 7 or 8 points down with 6 or 7 minutes left, and they came out and they got the point to win it. So, like, in these games, Oisin, the game could still go down to the wire here, even though Blarney are still in the driving seat. Anything can happen in Championship.
And you just look at that Castlelyons forward line, there is definitely a goal or two in them. There might be one here for Spillane. He's certainly thinking about it. He's held back. That's a clever foul from Hanlon. He's given away the free. But Fraggy, much as people don't like to see it, it was cynical, but it was clever.
Yeah, it was. And, you know, as I said earlier, this is what Castlelyons need to do. Just keep in the game, because Blarney will foul. If you start running at them, you know, in the last few minutes, they will give away free. And if you can keep the scoreboard ticking over, you give yourself an opportunity. But I just feel at the moment, Blarney are kind of small but too kind of defensive. Even from that line ball, they were standing off the men all night. They haven't given Castlelyons an inch. Whereas they're just starting now maybe to see kind of the finish line in sight, but there's still a long way to go in this game, and Castlelyons are playing all the hurling at the moment.
Yes, Castlelyons are on the ascendancy. They've got their, I suppose, Niall O'Leary has gone to centre forward, has had a big help in the team, and there's no doubt that the finishing line is getting, and some teams will tighten up slightly and make a number of mistakes, but you know, the likes of Mark Coleman and Shane Barrett and the quality of players that they have, I still think the Blarney will see it out.
They could do with a boost, but they're not going to get one.
Yeah, again there now, you know, just a long wasted ball in over the end line instead of just playing it in front of the full forward line. And once the ball is in there, it gives you an opportunity to do something.
No score since the water break for Blarney. They're still ahead. Comes Colm O'Neill, and they get the free in.
And it's kind of roles reversed now from the first quarter, where we saw a lot of frees were being awarded to Blarney. We now see Castlelyons have the last probably 3 or 4 frees have been awarded to them. And like last weekend, Alan Connolly from this position scored an equalising score against UCC in Blackrock, and Mick Spillane has the opportunity here now. Some words coming in from John Crowley on the sideline. Is it a case of drop? I would be saying at this moment in time, take your time, knock the ball over the bar, keep the scoreboard coming down. They've moved it down from 9 points down to 6. This will bring it to 5. It's a massive free for Castlelyons.
It's a huge free, and I've no doubt that John Crowley was just telling them, keep getting on the ball, keep moving it inside, and just keep working on it. It's huge free here now.
Spillane.
That
goes wide. It remains a 6-point game. Darren Tobin is coming back in. Was in the first half as a blood stroke injury sub. Very, very, very experienced. Can kind of cover midfield in the forward region.
Slightly broken momentum now, slightly, and I'm a bit surprised that he took the free when the announcer was making the announcement for the sub coming on. It is it's something that you probably should take a bit of time and leave the announcement. Go ahead.
Young James Carney comes off. Tobin comes in. 2 players, I suppose, at the opposite end of the age range. Here's Paul O'Leary, the player manager. Joe Jordan chasing after it is Mark O'Leary, but he's not going to get there.
Yeah, the last 3 puck-outs for Blarney have gone straight down on top of Mark Coleman, and you just kind of wonder, you know, it just allows Castlelyons to spoil Mark. And you know, we mentioned it earlier about Castlelyons putting a man up on top of Mark Coleman, and Castlelyons have put Tom Carroll on him, and he's done an excellent job there in the last few minutes. But you'd wonder putting high ball down on top of Mark.
Oh, that's a wonderful catch. Now he's got runners, and Spillane running inside. Spillane does take it, but there's lots of red bodies between him and the goal, so he just cleverly pops it over.
And Niall O'Leary has certainly made a big difference for Castlelyons going into the forward line. And we see another Blarney defender is going down looking for attention from the physio, and the referee, as I've mentioned, is allowing play to continue.
You know what, they mightn't need a goal because they can just keep popping over the points. There's only 5 in it at the moment.
Here you go now. Earlier this line ball was going for Blarney, and you know, Castlelyons are getting it now. Blarney seem to be in trouble with their corner back, Sean Crowley. He went down earlier with injury, and it looks like they're trying to get him off. And he's just gone. Blarney been trying to get him off for the last few minutes, but the game has been so fast. The tempo has been up by Castlelyons. They just haven't been giving them the opportunity.
Blarney looking for a first score since the water break, trying to get it as Mark O'Leary. Trying to get onto it now is Shane Mulcahy, the sub. That's a good pass from Mulcahy. Paddy Power lost it in the crowd. Castlelyons turn it over, then give it away to Philpott. Bit of a blind ball over the top. Castlelyons have the numbers back there. Sexton was waiting short, but they go long. It's a bit risky. That's a fantastic catch from Spillane. Anthony Spillane looking to narrow that gap further. The keeper does really well.
A great catch by Hallisey over the crossbar. Fantastic catch. That's the narrow margins between winning and losing maybe a county final this evening. That ball could have ended up over the bar.
Wonderful work for Tom Carroll to keep that alive. Then he got it back. Who's going to win the primary possession here? Red rather than green and gold. A slip from the fullback O'Leary. Kept his composure. Line ball, Castlelyons. Gentlemen, in about a minute or two I'll get you to name your player of the match, even though there might be a bit more time to come. There might be extra time, there might even be penalties. Colm O'Neill standing over the line ball. Spillane pulls on it, eventually does end up going down the park, but Hallisey minds it very well.
Yeah, just a ball like that now, a first time pull could have went anywhere, but it actually has gone wide on that occasion.
Intercepted brilliantly, or caught brilliantly by Shane Barrett. This is a big score for Blarney because they need one to settle them, and they've got it. Barrett, the youngster, steps up and does what his team needed.
Yeah, it's a massive score when Blarney really needed it. Castlelyons have been dominant, playing all the hurling, and it's a great score for Blarney just to break the momentum. And here we go now, they're working the ball up the field again, out to Padraig Power with another great opportunity.
Power down the line looking for Mulcahy. Mulcahy was beaten to it, but they do get the 65. Right, gentlemen, do you want to have a quick discussion about your player of the match? You can do it on the microphones or off, I don't mind.
Well, for me, I think Colm Barry has been excellent for Castlelyons all through. He's really played well. And then on the Blarney side, I suppose Declan Hanlon has been excellent all through as well. Shane Barrett has showed great flashes. But for me, the main player this evening has been Mark Coleman. I think has been outstanding both from play and for frees. And I think he'll probably be notching up his 12th or 13th score out of 19 at the moment.
Yeah,
well, so confident was I actually marked it down before he popped it over. Are you in agreement?
Yeah, Mark's been excellent. I mean, there has been a number of candidates. You look at Joe Jordan, you look at Peter Philpott, back centre back for Blarney. He's been excellent. Shane Barrett as well too. But Mark, when they needed him at the start, he set the tempo and he got the scores, and he's been excellent all through.
So your Co-op Superstores man of the match in the Premier Intermediate Hurling Championship final is Mark Coleman from Blarney. Most likely he will be on the winning team unless something absolutely dramatic happens now. Colm Barry is trying to collect at the full back. Murphy in for O'Leary. That's on the Blarney side, obviously. I think that's O'May trying to pick it up. It is, but he's beaten to it. Blarney have got back on top. Really strong work from Patrick Crowley. He's had a great game as well. You mentioned him in your man of the match discussions.
Yeah, I think Blarney have weathered the storm. Oisín, we saw the Castlelyons team that we saw all year for about maybe 10 or 15 minutes in the middle of the second half, but just not enough on the evening that's in it. And Blarney, full value for I'd say, I'm calling it at the moment. I think Blarney are home and host, to be honest. I can't see Castlelyons getting the goals that they need, but I mean, great credit must go to the Blarney management, how they have turned it around from the group stages aside in Mourne Abbey to get into the county final this evening. I think we'll have to say a word for Ballincollig mentors as well, and the players, because I think they had one foot in the semi-final as well a number of weeks back, but in fairness to Blarney, they have really turned their season around, and at the moment they look like they're going to be playing senior hurling back in the senior ranks again next year.
Spillan's going to put this one over and take the score, but he puts it wide, and it just sums up their evening, doesn't it, Fraggy?
Yeah, it does. You know, he was in two minds whether to kind of drive it low and try and get a deflection or something, or whether to put it over the bar, and he just ended up doing kind of neither, which often happens. You know, we're into injury time now. They're probably looking for Blarney just to kind of see out this game and just make sure that they don't kind of concede a goal, because they have that cushion. And that goal chance that they took, whereas Castlelyons, Mark, they probably squandered 2 or 3 goal chances.
And missed the opportunities, I suppose, when they needed them, which was the key thing. And but like in the overall context of things, Blarney were the better team right throughout the game.
Ben Ahern has come in, his uncle a selector on the team. Castlelyons still looking for that goal, but Declan Hanlon ensuring they won't get it for now.
Like the deployment of Declan Hanlon has probably been the main one of the main things, and also Mark Coleman going to the forward line, being very offensive.
Sexton gives it away. Mark Coleman, the man of the match. Coleman goes off on another run. Lovely stick pass. Colin Murphy racing after it is Paddy Power. His goal really kind of set Blarney in motion in the second half, although Castlelyons did make a mini comeback. They just couldn't quite get close enough. Ben Ahern just off the bench throws it up for Crowley. Overcarried, free out.
And you can see some of the Castlelyons players are now, like, they probably know that tis up for them, even though there's 2 minutes, but the game is up for them, and they're just, I said, they'll be very, very disappointed with their overall performance. But the loss of Colm Spillane has been, I suppose, you just don't know what kind of a loss he's been to the team.
He's a massive loss, Mark, to be honest. I mean, even last year with Cork, he's a massive loss at intercounty, never mind club, and for it to happen 2 minutes into the game, it just puts everything out of kilter. And they would have built their game plan around Colm Spillane. He's such a big player, and to go into a county final, and I feel so sorry for Colm Spillane.
He's been unlucky with injuries all through his career, to be fair.
Ball skips, but away from the goal. An unlucky bounce again for Castlelyons after Jack Barry left it in long. The really disappointing thing for Castlelyons, as you said, Mark, is that they just haven't played. I mean, if you get to a final and you give it your best and you're simply beaten by a better team, fair enough.
Yeah.
But they'll be left wondering for a long time. Mark Coleman, no wondering for him. He will be the man of the match, and, well, he will be celebrating tonight with Blarney, all socially distanced, all responsible and all that, but still, you can't take away the joy. You can change the celebrations, but the joy is the same.
And Oisín, I made this, and you referenced it earlier on, that I would have been critical of him in the group game, and I was critical of him that night, because I was expecting more out of him as their main man. And we are seeing here tonight that he's done exactly what you'd expect out of your main player, your inter-county player. He has brought the game to Castlelyons himself, not single-handedly now, but he has had a fantastic game himself, and that's what you really want from your quality player. You want him to be the leader, you want him to take the responsibility and show how good a hurler he is, and he's been magnificent tonight, and great credit to him.
Yeah, and there you have Colin Barry again, still fighting to the death for Castlelyons. He's been excellent tonight for Castlelyons, to be fair to him. He cleared a lot of ball as well too there in the first half when they were under pressure. And
Paddy Power has got a goal and 2 points off him, but that's not, he's played reasonably okay, but Colin Barry has probably won the battle there, I would say.
Well, life and sport, I guess, is a bit of a roller coaster. Blarney, back in the kind of first decade of this century, had a very successful time winning an All-Ireland intermediate title. They went on to be senior, they got relegated, but now they are back after a bit of a wait, and they deserve their spot in the top grade. They've beaten Castlelyons 120 to 15 points in this Co-op Superstores Intermediate Hurling Championship final, and Well, it's hard to argue with that result, isn't it?
No, absolutely not. Brilliant performance, and great credit down to the mentors and the players in Blarney. I mean, they really got their matchups right tonight. They went with a tactic, they played the sweeper, and it has worked out for them. You know, like anybody who watched the group game wouldn't have expected the result that we saw there this evening. So I think there's great credit down to the management and the mentors and the players this evening for the way they have turned their season around. Helped with the fact that UCC have been a huge contributor. Paddy Power, Shane Barrett, Mark Coleman playing with them as well. They got momentum behind them and are worthy champions tonight. And fantastic to see Blarney back up in the senior ranks. Great friends out there, Padjo and Ted Sheehan. I'm sure they're looking in this evening. Well, Padjo and Ted, I'm delighted that I presume you'll be making your way down to the streets in Blarney. The lads will be back with the cup in about an hour and a half time. and great credit due to Blarney the way they have turned the season around.
It's cold in Porky Queeve, but we can go to Blarney and stand by the bonfires to warm up, Fraggy. It's a great night for them.
Yeah, and it certainly sounds like Mark will be going on to Padjo and Ted anyway tonight for the bonfires as well. Look, they were excellent tonight. You have to give them credit. They were well beaten out in Mourneabbey in the group stages, as Mark was saying there earlier. They've obviously learned from that. You know, we were discussing earlier how difficult it is, kind of when you beat a team in the group stages. A lot of expectation then that you'll come out and you'll beat them again in the final, and it just didn't happen for Castlelyons tonight. And you know, I felt all throughout that Castlelyons were working really hard, but it was really down to Blarney's kind of quality, their work rate as well too. And they've earned their win tonight. You know, I mean, you know, they can't factor in for the loss of Cullen Spillane for Castlelyons. They can't do anything about that. All they can do is just focus on what they've planned, and that's what they did. And you know, their half back line in the first half was excellent. It was dominant, but they were playing great ball out. And you know, I suppose they were taking on the Castlelyons defence, and they earned their frees, Mark. And that was probably the difference, that Blarney were able to put a bit of distance by getting those frees and Mark Coleman slotting them over.
Yeah, they kept the scoreboard ticking over, particularly in the first half when Castlelyons were playing with the breeze. We didn't probably see coming that they were going to play with a sweeper, but they effectively played seven men for the whole game, to be honest. And Mark Coleman was deployed from the defence up to the forward line. That has made a big difference as well for Blarney this evening. But I think in the overall context, you know, the game itself was thrown of one of the best players in Cullen Spillane. His loss to Castlelyons would be monumental. Like, he has scored about 426 in the championship already this year. He scored 1-7 against Blarney in the group game, so he was a massive loss to them. But look, it is not about the loss of Cullen that has cost them the game. Ultimately, it is about Blarney and the way they have turned their season around from that game. And I suppose part of from talking to some of the Blarney lads, they played in Ascara in the first round of the championship and had a massive local derby and a massive win, and maybe the preparation going into the second game, which was played.
You were missing a few lads that night as well. I suppose,
Paul O'Leary, who's the manager. I mean, great credit to Paul O'Leary as well. He didn't play that evening, but he was very good and very rock solid tonight. Mark and Anthony Spillane at full back.
Mark Coleman, already an all-star. I remember a couple of years ago Tommy Dunn speaking about him, and he said he was oohing and aahing and just couldn't say enough good things about him. And Mark Coleman delivered on the potential that he's had for many years tonight. And like, he's already delivered. He's an all-star. He's won Fitzgibbon Cups. You know, he's played for Cork. He's won Munsters, but he really stood up tonight, didn't he?
He did. He was excellent. I remember a good friend of mine, Ray O'Brien, telling me a long time ago about watch out for Mark Coleman. And like, Mark is a class player. He's one of the best players in the country. He's a joy to watch. People, if they could, which they couldn't tonight, they would pay money to go in and watch Mark Coleman strike the ball. He, like, his sidelines,
not even in a match situation, just to go in and watch him training on his own.
He's class. He's absolutely class. I know he'll be a massive player for Cork going forward. And I tell you, after tonight's game, the one man who'll be very concerned will be Kieran Kingston and the injury to Cullen Spillane, because he's a big loss.
We might come back to that in a second. We'll try and listen in on the speeches of Sean Crowley and Peter Philpott, the Blarney joint captaincy team, because they are about to have a very special moment for the club, lifting the trophy and I suppose confirming their status as once again a senior club, which is a big deal.
Yeah, and I suppose, you know, they'll be a bit disappointed that the Premier Intermediate champions don't have a Munster campaign, because the last time they won it, they went on, I think, in a Munster and All-Ireland campaign. I think they won the Junior All-Ireland. Did they win the Intermediate? Yeah. So, like, you know, that'll be one disappointment for them.
and it's very weird to hear my voice anyway in front of an empty stadium, but I'm sure Blarney won't object to that. I just wanted to begin by complimenting
small crowd,
both
but an
teams
enthusiastic
on
crowd
their
in. Let's try and
performance
drop
in a
into the
fantastic
celebrations.
championship
Tracy is
and a
making the
fantastic
speech, and then we'll have the trophy
final.
lift.
So a huge
And what
round
a
of
moment that
applause
will
for
be.
both teams.
One can only feel sorry for Castlelyons. They are absolutely devastated. They're getting a round of applause. It won't mean much to them now, but they're a determined club. They're a good club. They will be back.
Castlelyons will be back. Oisin,
I
there's no
also
doubt about
wanted
that.
to
They have too many
compliment
quality
all the
players.
team
Like
here at
Jack Barry in goals, Colin
Stephen
Barry at
Farris,
full back was
our
outstanding. Niall O'Leary centre back.
John Mullen,
Colin
John
Flanagan will be back.
Murphy,
He's been very, very unfortunate with a lot of injuries down through his career so far for such a young player. And Anthony Spillane, they'll have no retirements either, so they'll still have the same. They'll just have to build on this, but they'll have to give great credit to Blarney, because they've been building for the last number of years. They played last year in the semi-final, and anybody who was at the semi-final against Father O'Neill's last year, if the game went on for another 3 or 4 minutes, there's a good possibility that Blarney would have won it. But their day has come. They're deserving winners this evening, and they're hurled really, really well tonight, and they hurled smartly. But they also had a lot of breaks. But sometimes the harder you try, the luckier you get. And I think that happened for Blarney this evening.
They were unlucky as well as Shane Maroney wasn't around. Obviously, I think he's missed the entire season. He's away with the army at the moment in the Lebanon. So that was a big loss for Castlelyons right from the very start. His brother Liam is on the bench tonight. He's actually the fullback for the junior team. But look, we're making excuses for them, but they won't do that, will they? They know they didn't play well.
They came here tonight with as good of opportunity as anybody. The fact that they'd already beaten Blarney in the championship, sometimes that can be a crutch against you, and it probably has weighed on them. But I think the loss of Colin Spillane, and we don't want to labour on the point, so early in the game certainly did affect them, because they conceded an awful lot of frees in the first quarter. Were probably against, I won't say against the run of play, but they just kept the scoreboard. And Fraggy mentioned it stretched out the lead as the game was going. And I suppose there was a couple of goal opportunities the Castlelyons needed to get, and they never got them. One hit the side netting, and another was a miscontrol.
Yeah, I think you made the point at the time, Mark. The difference was the Blarney hand pass went to hand, and they got the goal from that. There was a couple of opportunities from Castlelyons. The ball didn't go to hand, and it just put pressure then on the fella receiving the ball. And it's just, when you're in those tight situations, split seconds count, because you've keepers rushing out in you. Blarney had 4 or 5 men coming back, in scramble defence, and they were able to bottle up the Castlelyons attackers. And small little things like that decide games.
And you're 100% correct there, because a lot of the 50-50 balls, I would say, fell for Blarney tonight, but that's credit down to the Blarney players, and you get the rub of the green in the night. I suppose you'll have to mention as well the referee, Kieran O'Regan. He handled the game reasonably well. There was nothing controversial in the game. It's his first adult county final. I'd say he'll be happy enough, but look, it's like all matches, somebody will always find fault with the referee. It's not the easiest job in the world to do, but I think he can be happy enough with his performance tonight. Castlelyons, I think, will be a bit disappointed themselves, Oisin, particularly in the first half, that they conceded a lot of easy frees, legs in and arms around fellas when there was no need. I think they rushed into challenges, and that probably gave Kieran O'Regan the opportunity maybe to blow the whistle. So I think they can have no complaints on that front. I think Blarney justified their victory this evening. They were the better team overall. The team got the tactics right, and the management, I'd say kudos to the management, the Blarney lads. They've really turned their season around.
What a moment for Peter Philpott and Sean Crowley, the joint captains. Mark Coleman, the Co-op Superstores man of the match, got 15 points. He was central to everything tonight as well. As they did in the first half, Castlelyons opened the scoring with a free from Michael Spillane, but they just couldn't do enough for the maybe opening 15 minutes of that second half, and Blarney responded well moments later with a Padraig Power goal. It was a dream start for them. Let's try and drop in on this speech and try and get an insight as to what this means to Blarney.
I saw Paul Letizio sometimes on his phone, can't do way more than do like that. Secondly, it's all about the players. I think they're the most important part of the process. We could have easily turned around after Father O'Neill's last year. We could have put the heads down during COVID, couldn't put the heads down, but she drove on. We kept finding ways to drive on. and here we are. Lastly, I suppose I'd just like to take it back to 12 years ago. 2008, I was 12 years old. And what the lads did, they won the county, won the All-Ireland, is they created a want amongst the generation to go there and do the same thing. And the likes of Paul O'Leary, Joe Jordan, Ogie, all staying with us there next week, driving the young fellas on, helping us through all the way. We can't thank them enough for their influence. They've been absolutely
Success.
Yeah, that's Peter Philpott. Was involved with the development squads, and Peter was on them for a number of years with us. A lovely chap, great guy, and he's given you a fantastic speech straight from the heart. He actually spoke about that moment when he was in Croke Park, I think, with his father, and he's in, I think he's in the background of the speeches and stuff like that. But great player, played really well as centre back today, and was rock solid for Blarney.
Boom back. 2, we've celebrated. 3, can
2 out of 3 there. I'm not so sure about the boom, but
COVID is here.
But a fantastic night for them. As just before we go, Castlelyons scored 3 points after the water break and appeared to be regaining confidence, but Hallisey made that magnificent save from over the crossbar, and after that Blarney kind of took back over, and that was that was the sign of a good team. Easy for them to collapse into themselves. It looked like they were going to.
Yeah, and you have to give great credit to Shane Barrett as well too. He really stood up. Blarney were struggling at the time. Castlelyons were, Oisín, you're right, they were completely dominant. And he won a ball out around the kind of middle of the field and brought it down the left flank and slotted it over.
I'll leave them sing for a second, Frank. Blarney were on song tonight, lads, and it's a great night for the club. Fraggy, your final thoughts?
Yeah, look, finals are there. Blarney, as Mark said, they got their tactics right. They learned from the first game, and they were excellent all throughout. They've deserved their victory. Hard lines to Castlelyons. They worked hard, but it just didn't happen for them tonight. They really only got going in probably the last 15-20 minutes of the game when they showed their class. But a lot of that is down to Blarney, and they'll celebrate tonight, and they deserve it. They were the better team in the night, Mark.
Yeah, absolutely, and great credit due to the Blarney management at the way they got their tactics right. And then I suppose up stepped their main man, Mark Coleman, who I thought was outstanding. He was inspirational for his team.
15 points.
It's phenomenal, it's really, really, and it's great for Cork hurling as well, that the likes of Kieran Kingston is looking in, and your main players are playing well. Like Niall O'Leary, just to mention him, had a reasonably good game as well, and on a ship that probably was sailing in the wrong direction for a lot of the game. But I think great credit due to Blarney, and a lot of people, aren't going to taste the success. The supporters, they're not allowed in here, so the lucky 50 or maybe 100 people that are here, they're very, very lucky to be here this evening. But a fantastic speech from Peter Philpott, and you could see his players arm in arm and with the mentors, and it's closing in now at half past 8. I think if you're in Blarney at the moment, get the skids on now and have your face mask and get down to the village, because your team are coming back with the cup and they're county champions, and they're gone back up senior, which is massive for Blarney.
Peter Philpott, fantastic speech. Sean Crowley also said a nice few words as well. Of course, it's in the Philpott blood, isn't it? His dad would have done it with St Finbarr's, so they're a family who are accustomed to success. My thanks to you, Fraggy, and to you, Mark Lander. So Blarney are back in senior. Tomorrow we turn our attentions to those senior finals. The Senior A final is first up. That's between Father O'Neill's and Charleville. Both of them have actually had good runs in the All-Ireland series over the last couple of years. They've both been very, very successful in the last couple of years, so it looks like it's going to be a really, really good game. Father O'Neill's against Charleville. It's live on the Irish Examiner social media pages at 12:30.
And I suppose the two teams tonight, Blarney and Castlelyons, were probably everybody's fancies to get to the final, and Charleville and Father O'Neill's were most people's favourites to get there as well. Two teams that have won the Premier Intermediate in the last number of years as well and been to All-Ireland finals. I think, you know, the loss of John Melrick and Dan Harrington for Father O'Neill's, and they won't be using that as an excuse going in, but they are two quality players, and like when you have somebody like Dara Fitzgibbon on the opposition, and John Melrick would have been probably assigned to mark him, you know, you'd have to say Charleville will start as slight favourites, but in the likes of Decky Dalton, Billy Dunn and Liam O'Driscoll, if they got enough ball on any night, Oisín, they will punish you. So it's a very, very level game, but I think Charleville will be slight favourites going into the game.
Quick word on that one, Fraggy?
Yeah, it's going to be a great game. It's going to be a cracker, to be honest. You know, fantastic set of players on both sides, and it's really set up, as Mark said. They would have been kind of the two teams that you'd say, if they were kept apart, that they would come through, and you know, it's going to be a real shootout here. Again, you know what way the weather's going to be tomorrow. There's all kind of talks of heavy showers and stuff like that, but there certainly will be a lot of quality, and a great game to look forward to, and a great one for the Irish Examiner to have.
Okay, well, that's Father O'Neill's against Charleville. That's going to be live on the Irish Examiner, and you can check that out with us. We'll also build up to the Premier Senior Final between Glen Rovers and Blackrock, an all-city affair. That's tomorrow. Tonight is tonight. It's Saturday night, and it's going to be a good Saturday night in Blarney. I'm sure the bonfires will be going, and I'm sure that people will be out to welcome them all, socially distant and all that. They've beaten Castlelyons 120 to 15 points, and they are back up into the senior grade. That's it from us in Porky Quay. We're back here tomorrow. The game is off at 12:30. We're on air at about 12:15, so join us for that. Until then, goodbye.